Hello and welcome to the midway point of this course. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time believing that we are already in week 5. Hopefully you feel like you have already gained a tremendous amount of information so far in this course, and you're going to get even more information as we go through the second half of the semester. So this week we're going to be continuing on as we're looking at the physical environment. So hopefully everyone had a chance to sign up for an activity center that you were interested in learning more about. I was extremely excited to see that the sign up actually worked the way that it was supposed to. But let me know if you had any trouble signing up for an activity center. Again, this is not a group project, but I do that so that we don't have an entire class who did the art center, because I do want you to be able to get as much information as you can from your classmates on the other centers that you didn't choose, because you're going to need that information as we go into this week. So last week you looked at chapter 9, really focusing on the physical environment, and so this week we're going to add to that as we're looking at chapters 6 and 7. So taken in conjunction with chapter 9, these chapters are going to get you ready to complete your observation assignment. So chapter 6 is going to be looking at observation, and one of the most important things that you can remember is when you're observing, you have to be completely objective. That means no opinions, no assumptions, no judgment. You simply are writing down what it is that you see. When you choose a place to go do your observation, I guarantee you're going to see things that you don't agree with, things that you've already seen from the information that you learned in this course are not developmentally appropriate, and that's totally fine. But when you fill out the chart, you're just simply going to report what you see. You'll have a chance to give your analysis and suggestions for improvement in the summary. But chapter 6 really focuses on the importance of observation, how to observe objectively, because it is by far the best way to assess children. There is nothing that you can't learn about a child from simply observing them. And if you really want to find out what's going on at home, go to dramatic play. Because that's where children are going to be acting out what's going on at home. When I was doing ratings, that was my favorite place to sit because I could learn so much just simply sitting and observing as they were in that particular center. Chapter 7 looks at guiding the behavior of children. And so the reason I put these together is because you're going to find that between the way that we set up our classroom, the materials that we have in our classroom, but also the way that we manage our classroom is going to have a huge impact on children's learning. And so it's really important to start looking at what are some developmentally appropriate practices and what are some things maybe that we should avoid, because I guarantee you're going to see things during your observation that you're probably not going to want to do when you have your own classroom. But one of the major things to remember as you're looking at chapter 7 is we're not using the term classroom management or behavior management anymore. We really are looking at guiding the behavior of children, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to teach them how they are supposed to act, how they're supposed to interact with other people. And so it's not so much that we're trying to manage and use all of these different systems. Instead, we're trying to be a guide who's teaching and showing them the right way to do things. So when you have read through chapters 6 and 7 and have started doing a little bit of work on your activity center, then you're going to be ready to get out and do your observation. So when you look in this week's module, which again, it's just amazing that we are in week 5. You're going to see, again, chapters 6 and 7, you're going to be working on the observation assignment. But one of the things that I really want you to do is you're going to be starting to work on the observation assignment, as well as your participation for this week is sending me an email that says what has had the most impact on you so far. So again, that was our introductory page. But when you get here, you're going to see the link for the observation assignment. So just wanted to take a few minutes to explain how this is going to work and how you can find the resources that you need. So the first thing you need to do is figure out where you're going to go do your observation. As long as it is a classroom that has children from birth to 8, you're fine. So it's not as hard in the summer to find a place to do these observations as it is for people who are having to get into the public schools. But basically, you're going to be there for 2 hours. You're going to want to do this in the morning because you're going to want to see some of the instructions, some of the things that happen in the morning. Because as we know, once we get to lunchtime, we have lunch, then we have nap, and then you start to notice a staggered departure in the afternoon. So you really want to do this in the morning. And again, probably about 2 hours. One of the most important things that I need for you to do is to go to a center that has been identified as high quality. And the reason this is so important is because since our program is NACE accredited, we have to make sure that our students are going to centers that have also been identified as high quality. So if you have not had to do this before, I have a little cheat sheet for you. So if you click right here where it says you can find list of these centers here, it's actually going to take you to one of the pages that I created in your first module. But it has some helpful CHD documents and resources. And so here's where I put some links for you for finding a high quality center. If you click on this link, it will allow you to type in a zip code and a radius, and it will tell you all of the centers that are NACE accredited. If you are looking at centers that are participating in Virginia Quality, that is the program in the state of Virginia. It is voluntary, but centers can choose to be involved, and this is where they would have someone come in. They're going to look at licensing requirements as well as teacher qualifications, curriculum, and then at the end they actually have the rating using the Eckers, the ITERs, depending on the age of the classroom, and CLASS, which is another resource that you'll become very familiar with in CHD 205. But this is the most current list of centers that are participating in Virginia Quality. But at a bare minimum, the center that you go to has to be licensed. And here's the licensing website for Department of Social Services, so you can check and make sure the center you're going to is licensed. So if you've never had to do an observation before, this is a great place to start. But when you go back to the observation, you're going to find where you're going to go. You're going to want to make contact with them to make sure that it's okay for you to come and set up a day and a time for you to come. You will see here that I have already created a letter for you to take. This is kind of breaking the ice and letting the director or the teacher know what it is that you're going to be doing. I really try and make sure that they understand that we are not coming in to judge them or to critique them. This truly is just an example of how you can take the information that you're learning in your courses and apply it. So none of their information is going to be released to the public. I am the only person who's going to see your notes, but I try and make that clear with this letter. So please make sure that you give this letter to the teacher or the director when you go. And I've also created a template for you so that you make sure that you have everything. But what you're going to notice as you go through the different aspects of the chart is you are looking at every aspect of the physical environment. And the reason that I have you do the activity center before you do the observation is because you need to know what to look for in the centers. So make sure that you fill in all of the information about where you went, the time that you started, the time that you finished, the date, the age of the children. This is actually, the template is in Microsoft Word, so you'll be able to type directly into it. But make sure that you tell me how they are considered high quality. If they are participating in Virginia Quality or NACE accredited, they are also going to be licensed. So if they have more than one of these, you can circle it, you can highlight it, you can bold it, you can put an X next to it. Just somehow let me know how they are considered high quality. But then here's all the different things that you're going to be looking at: describing the space, describing the furniture, if it's handicapped accessible, if there is adult seating, how they have diversity represented. Are things, are shelves labeled? And then we get into the different centers. So you're going to want to actually go and look in the center so you can write down what they have. And so the chart really is self-explanatory. And I've also created a narrated PowerPoint where I tell you what each of these things, what you need to be looking for. So you can make sure if you wanted some extra clarification that you can view and listen to that as well. And then when you're done, you're going to do a little summary. So when you go up to the template, you will see that it's just in a chart format, so just type directly into it. This does need to be typed. This is something that you need to hold on to if you are continuing in the degree program, because you're going to need this assignment for your portfolio. But make sure you type all of your information. If they don't have something, you can put not observed or not applicable, but I do not want to see yes and no answers. I can only see what you saw by what you describe. So if you tell me that the shelves are labeled with pictures and you put yes, I don't know, are all of them, or only some of them? Are they actually labeled correctly? So remember that you're giving me the information simply through your words. So be as detailed as possible. And then when you're done, you're going to need to write a good conclusion, a good analysis of things you think they did well, things that maybe they didn't do so well, maybe some suggestions that you would have to help them be better. Make sure it's a good paragraph, although most people, their analysis is between 1 and 2 pages, but just because there's so much information that's covered here. So that's what you're going to do for your observation. So remember, for this week, the only thing you have to do for your participation is send me an email letting me know what has been the most impactful thing that you have learned so far in this course. Continue working on your activity center assignment and go ahead and get started on finding a place to do your observation. You do have several weeks to get this done, but I would definitely recommend trying to get in sooner rather than later. So have a fantastic week, and I will see you in week 6.